All right, everybody, good afternoon. It is Tuesday here in Australia, and it is not a day that's either side of an Arsenal game. So let's talk about something else today. Tomorrow, we will preview our Premier League contest, which is coming up against Norwich City, the first game at home for us since the restart. Of course, 2 wins and 2 losses for us since the season has restarted under Project Restart, and a big win, as we know, against Sheffield United just the other day to take us through to the FA Cup semi-final against Manchester City. Let's talk today about Liverpool Football Club winning their first Premier League title for 30 years and their 19th First Division title. A big day for all Liverpool supporters and for everybody involved with that club, of course. A magic day it was last week when they beat Crystal Palace and then waited on Manchester City to try and get the job done against Chelsea. Unfortunately, they lost 2-1 City, and that handed the title to Liverpool. Cue celebrations in that city, unseen like any before. This was, in a way, the holy grail for Liverpool, to get their hands on their first Premier League trophy, to lift it after such a long period of time and re-begin the chase of Manchester United's 20 Division 1 league titles in England. They've been perfect all season in the sense of their football has been magic. There is that one blight on their season, that is that loss to Watford in the Premier League. And one thing to look out for next week, we're going to do a combined Liverpool 1920 and Arsenal 03-04 Invincibles team, and to combine them together and talk about what players you'd fit into that team. But overall, congratulations to Liverpool. They have been absolutely magnificent this season. There's a couple of games I want to talk about in just a little bit as well, which have defined their season. But in the first instance, let's talk about the main reasons why they are Premier League champions this year, in my opinion. The first of those is Jurgen Klopp. He has been absolutely magnificent as their manager, coming from Borussia Dortmund, as we know, where he was a serial winner with that club and took that club to the German Bundesliga and on the brink of a Champions League win as well. Something that he has now achieved with Liverpool, of course, European champions last year in season 2018-19. Jurgen Klopp has been a breath of fresh air for Liverpool. He's a dream manager for any fan, for anybody associated with a football club. And if you listen to what the players say, they absolutely love him. There's a touch of Arsene Wenger about him in terms of getting someone into the club with these great visions and a big charisma. Not so much of an unknown per se as Arsene Wenger was when he came from Japan. But not many people know that Wenger, of course, was a French league winner and brought a League One title under his belt to the Premier League when he came, and then obviously the rest is history from there. One of the greatest managers English football has ever seen. Jurgen Klopp is on his way to doing that as well. He's got a big charisma, a big personality. He's great with the media, and I'm assuming behind closed doors, even better with his players. What I saw of him at the Club World Cup in December when I was there in Doha in Qatar was how much love he had for his players and how passionate he's about not only the team and the players, but the club itself and everything that's involved. He really is the perfect man for the job, and he's taken them to the next level. Second thing in my mind for Liverpool has been keeping the faith. So the whole idea behind pick and stick has been magic for them. So keep and the faith, keep the faith. So what that has done for them has set them up in that they've selected a manager, they've stuck with him, and they've decided that this is the man we're going to go ahead with. We're going to invest in him, invest in the players that he wants, and get behind him, which has been such a big part of their success. He's been in a position where early on, their league finishes weren't as good as they could have been, but eventually he turned it around. Europa League final in his first season, which unfortunately they did not win, but then moving from there, the league position improved, got them to a Champions League final back in 2018 against Real Madrid, which for some unfortunate reasons didn't go their way that day, but it's only been up from there. Of course, the Champions League last season and then the Premier League this season. So keeping the faith, keeping the idea behind a certain man's goals, a certain man's ideas, and how they're going to push forward with everything, no matter what, in a sense. I mean, if it was going completely downhill and there was no sign that things were going to be corrected at the club, then of course there would have been talks had, but never mind those early troubles. There were signs there that things were going to be great, and they've stuck with him, and it's been magnificent. The third reason is defense. Defense is what will win you a league season. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Defense has been magnificent. Attack will win you games. as the old saying goes, but defence will win you the season. They have been superb. So when you look at Andy Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, they're two fullbacks left and right. They are absolutely magnificent players. They're two of the best fullbacks you'll ever see, not only defensively, but up and down the flanks, linking up with players like Salah, like Mane on the left and right hand side. They have been brilliant. Virgil van Dijk, one of the best signings in the history of the Premier League. He has been immense for them. The Tower himself has been absolutely brilliant since his arrival. And pushing forward, he's been the perfect partner there and the perfect stable rock for Matip, for Gomez, for Lovren, whoever it is that comes in next to him. So they haven't quite had the partnership, for example, of like a Vidic and a Ferdinand, which was two men that were pretty staple throughout the entire period. Or even John Terry, Ricardo Carvalho, when you think of the great Premier League centre-half pairings, when you think about your Kolo Tourés and Sol Campbells, and even the famous Arsenal centre-backs that we've had over the years. But Virgil van Dijk has been that good that what he has done, he's led the team from the back. Jordan Henderson ahead of them as well has been a staple, and he's been the perfect man to take the torch from Steven Gerrard and lift them to that Premier League title. They are the three big reasons for me about why this team has won the Premier League title of this season. Moving on, I want to talk about some of the significant games of the season this year. If there's one thing I can think about the great Premier League teams and the teams that win premierships and win them well is their ability to win against the big teams away from home. That's something that in my mind is always massive. I'll refer to Arsenal's invincible team. You're talking about a team that early on in the season went to Liverpool and won, went to Leeds at the time and won, who were great. So I went to Chelsea at the time and won. Were able to go to Old Trafford earlier in the season, the famous Van Nistelrooy penalty miss, and get a result that day. It wasn't a victory, but it was a result. And that's such a big part of why Liverpool have been big this season. One of the early games in my mind that I can remember was Chelsea, and that was at Stamford Bridge, a 2-1 victory for Liverpool. That day they were 2-0 up early. And then pressing ahead, N'Golo Kanté got a goal for Chelsea in the back end of the game, but Liverpool managed to hang on and they took that game 2-1. It was a bit of a marker as well. It was for early days in Frank Lampard's reign. However, the case was you're still going to a big club, and especially a team like Chelsea who have been immensely successful over the last 15 years. They have been absolutely superb. There was a game I can remember as well, which was in September. It was Sheffield United. Let's talk about that one. Sheffield United. It was 1-0 that Liverpool won that game. Now, this was a game which was brilliant in terms of watching it. It was a full Bramall Lane. Everybody was excited for the game. They were into it. The game was back and forth. There was chances. I remember Mane hitting the post after a beautiful move for Liverpool in the first half. And then moving forward, Sheffield United had their chances too. What got them over the line that day was a little bit of luck. We saw Henderson let one through his legs, unfortunately. It was a shot from Wijnaldum, I believe, that won them the game in the 70th minute. But it was the type of day, the type of victory, which is what you need as a big team. And it's one of those ones where if you get that luck on your side, you can push forward and be extremely happy with that. Moving into October, so following September into October, they went to their biggest rivals without a doubt, that is Manchester United, and they came away with a 1-1 draw. Now in this game, this was a game where Marcus Rashford scored in the first half for Manchester United. It wasn't a brilliant game from memory, but they managed to equalise late. Adam Lallana with a equaliser for them. That was in the 85th minute, I believe, 86th minute. And that was a game for Liverpool where they're the type of games, referring back to that Arsenal away game at Man United back in 2003, it's a type of game that just gives you the ultimate of confidence. It just revs you up. It gets everyone excited. It wasn't a great performance from Liverpool, but that 1-1 was a big result for them. And the bragging rights almost stay with you as a team. Liverpool having been the better team in that fixture over the last few years, it sticks with you that you've gone there and got a result, especially when you're not playing that well. That was the same as that day, that infamous day for Arsenal back in 2003. Moving on from there, there was an EFL Cup game they played Arsenal. So we went to Liverpool and played at Anfield. This was an absolute belter. So this was Liverpool at home 5, Arsenal 5. And in the end, it was Liverpool that got up 10-9 on penalties. This was absolutely superb. The reason I wanted to highlight this game is the feel-good factor that came with this, and the football that they were playing was unbelievable. They had a lot of kids on the park, and so did we. I remember Joey Willock scored an absolute pigeon for us from about 25 metres out. But it was a high-intensity game, and this is a fixture which, never mind what a lot of people will tell you. I know United and Liverpool is a big game, Arsenal, Tottenham, and all the rivalries over the years, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, United. But this is a game which has big history in it. A lot of that goes even further beyond 1989 and the infamous last day. But this is a famous fixture. I believe it's the most scored fixture in the history of the Premier League, the most goals between these two teams. But this was just excitement central. Two teams that went at it hammer and tongs, and it was magnificent to watch. We move forward to November, and they played Manchester City. It was the big game, Manchester City. They were coming to Anfield and looking to get a result. And it was one on the calendar that you marked down and thought, okay, how are Liverpool going to go in a bit of a litmus test here against Manchester City? They blew them away that day. Possession was reasonably even. It was shaded in Manchester City's favour, I believe, and so was possession as well. However, Liverpool, 3-0 up into the second half. Bernardo Silva got a late one for City, but it didn't matter that day, and that was one of those big moments of the season where you felt like, okay, these guys are on their way now. They're gonna cause big problems as the season goes on, and they continue to do that. Moving into December, the World Club Cup. As I mentioned, I was lucky enough to be there. The final of the World Club Cup, Flamengo versus Liverpool. Now, this was won after extra time, and it was Roberto Firmino who got the winner for them. He popped up with a brilliant winner, as he does later on in the season, which I'll refer to in a moment. But he was excellent in that game. This was one that showed how much this meant to them. They were looking to avenge a lot of the pain of Flamengo that had inflicted on them in World Club Cups. The Zico-led sides of the 80s that had beaten Liverpool in World Club Cup finals before. And it was 3 times that they've played in that competition in the past, especially during the 80s when Liverpool were there a lot. But this is something that's massive as well for the South American teams. The Brazilian team from Rio absolutely loves this game, and they were up for it. It was the first time that I saw Pablo Mari as well, who now plays for Arsenal on a permanent deal. But it was absolutely fantastic, brilliant to watch. But at the same time, it just showed their resilience. It showed how much it meant to them as well when they celebrated this game afterwards. But then moving forward, they were on the bus. They finished their presses, and their focus was straight back on to getting home for Christmas and then getting the league back underway as well as it went next from there. Moving on to January, this was a game I remember late January, just before Australia Day here in Oz. But they played Wolves, and this was a magnificent game, and it was one that Liverpool won 2-1. This was a game where Henderson scored early for Liverpool from memory. As the game wore on, it was one of those ones that you mark down in the calendar at this point of the season and say, okay, there's a big chance here that Wolves can get a result from this game. They're at home. Liverpool, they weren't struggling by any stretch, but the games were piling up by this point. FA Cup was starting to come in as well. How are they going to go against a really good side in Wolves, who are still proving that now? I mean, they're on the cusp of the top 4, and with any luck, they'll get there the way they're playing. They're beautifully coached by Nuno Espirito Santos, so they're a great side. And in this game, what happened was Raul Jimenez got an equaliser for Wolves in about the 55th minute. Don't quote me on that, but after that, they pushed forward and really came at Liverpool. The crowd was behind them. It was a Thursday night from memory in England, and it was just one of those games where you felt it was going to happen. Wolves were going to get a result. In the end, it was Roberto. It was Bobby the man again. Bobby Firmino, a little bit of a shimmy in the box from memory, left foot finish into the far corner and got Liverpool the win. It was late as well, 84th, 85th minute. It was a fantastic goal for them, and it was one which was absolutely superb for them. That feeling was within the club that, okay, this could really be it for us. Moving forward from there, Spurs away was another big game, and it was another victory for Liverpool. Spurs, another team that you felt could inflict some damage on Liverpool's title charge. But at this point, once Liverpool were because they were playing so well, you felt like once they went there and got this victory, it was almost all over. And then after that, forget it. They were good that day, got the victory, 1-0, and that's all you need to do is just get the victory, push ahead, and then after that, take the league title away. There was a couple of blips. as the season wore on, FA Cup against Chelsea, then you also had the Atletico Madrid first leg game, which came at a pretty rough time for them. They lost that game 1-0 away from home, and as we know, were eventually bundled out 3-2 by Atletico. But the big one was the Watford game. Now, Watford 3-0, getting that victory, and that, of course, ended Liverpool in terms of their run towards invincibility. But never mind that. They responded back from that. They came back after that. Bournemouth in the Premier League was one of their next opponents. And then, of course, with the way that results have gone recently, they've beaten Palace. They drew at Everton in a Merseyside derby, and the title was all theirs. But that was around the time with that FA Cup defeat, and there was also Atletico Madrid getting past them. But it felt to me like a big focus of that was getting through the league and winning the league this year, and they've showed that beautifully. You'll notice here as well, a lot of these games are away games, big away performances, which is where you need to perform, you need to get the results. Of course, this being neutral in Qatar, but overall, magnificent performance from Liverpool this season, and we can't take anything away from them. They have been superb, and they are deserved Premier League champions. Congratulations.